We are all excited and ready to introduce Susan Collins. So Reverend Susan is an internationally acclaimed author, consultant, and workshop leader with a dynamic professional practice. She uses traditional dowsing tools and the power of the heart and thought to detect and transform non-beneficial earth, environmental, psychic, and other energy patterns. She's led workshops and presented at conferences across North America, the UK, in Italy, Japan, and in the Middle East, and was featured in the Resonance documentary. Susan is past president and Dowser of the Year for the Canadian Society of Dowsers, and she is an ordained metaphysical minister. And if you visit her website, you can find all of the books that she has written, and we're very, very grateful that she has agreed to speak to us today on Dowsing the Future, which I find really exciting because I've never actually heard a presentation on that. So awesome. Welcome, Susan, and thank you very much for being here.
Thank you. Thank you for the invitation. And as dowsers, I think even if we don't dowse with pendulums for the future, we have a gut feeling. For me as a kid growing up, it was, can I see the future? Can I imagine it? And if I could visualize the thing, I knew it would happen. And then I learned that was actually dowsing, kind of deviceless dowsing. But I've codified all kinds of things. So I'm honored to be here. And a shout out to everybody I know. There's so many familiar names. I can't see everybody's face, obviously, but thank you for attending. I did present workshops live 3 times in Tucson over the years. Once it was in conjunction with the mineral show, which was very exciting too. Anyway, so this is like a workshop. So for me, if I'm going to say something, I want to give you folks something useful. So I would invite you to get your pendulums. You don't have to do anything. You can take all this as information, or you can actually get your pendulum and a piece of paper and go through some of this stuff, because for me, everything is experiential. So I've got a PowerPoint presentation I'm going to show you, and if you put your questions in the chat, I'm going to roar through it, and then we'll have time to go over it afterwards. So I'm going to share my screen, and here we go. So you should be seeing that now. So Dowse the Future, and really we're talking about dowsing. Somebody said, oh, well, you can't dowse the future. I mean, there's so many possible futures, but really we're dowsing future probabilities. And really what's going on is that if we focus on an outcome that we want, a goal, and then we focus our intention on it, that is a great deal of creating the circumstances. So for me, everything has got physical action plus energy. So for me, it's not just energy stuff. It's doing something about it too. So we don't just sit around. But I love the energy stuff, honestly. So many of you have seen me before in person, or on Zoom, or on Vimeo workshops, whatever. So what we're doing today is dowsing future probabilities and the benefits of actions taking today. So, we there used to be the old vision boards, and, we evolve as energy people and practitioners. And, back in the day, we had vision boards and we'd sit there and look at pictures of things. But it's looking at the picture, intending, and then taking physical actions, I think, that really make the difference on everything. So if you haven't met me before, Reverend Susan Collins, here I'm being given the name Carrier of the Sacred Water, Water Woman, by my colleague White Eagle. And in attendance here is Sandy Mack, who I know is familiar to Tucson Dowsers folks. Graham Gardner, who's my colleague in internationaldowsers.org. He's in Scotland. And Nancy Bradley, who's another former Canadian Society of Dowsers president. And Graham and I are hosting International Dowsers Day tomorrow. We didn't invent it, but we're kind of bringing it out because we've got the Zoom. We can do it with Zoom. So it's a free thing, so please join us. I've studied in the North American Native tradition with His Holiness the Dalai Lama, in the Celtic tradition, in the Kabbalistic tradition, and I'm a metaphysical minister. This suits me perfectly because metaphysics is the study of the nature of reality. And I think as dowsers, that is what we're doing. That we have, many of us have experienced things, deja vu, or coincidences, or unexplained things. And how is that happening? It's because we naturally, it's our birthright technology, our birthright ability to be able to dose. So metaphysics is the nature, studying the nature of reality, and that's what I spend my time doing. This is not a photo of me because they didn't have color photography when I was that age, but I remember crying and hiding in stools because I was clairsentient. I could feel that stuff around me and it scared me to death. I was afraid of everything. I was afraid of the dark until I was 45, which is about when I started dosing. And to me, and for the sake of the children, like we're mature adults now, we can handle these experiences, but a lot of the children are experiencing it. So just as with the elderly at the end of life and with children at the beginning of life, help them understand what these things are. It's not all in their heads. Maybe it is in their heads, but it is real. That's another topic. Anyway, I had a big corporate career and then I got rheumatoid arthritis in 1982. I'm now 40 years anniversary of having been diagnosed with rheumatoid arthritis, and I'm not on any, haven't been on drugs for 15 years. So, and I credit it with dosing. Physical action, I go to the gym and I dose my way through life. Through all that, I realized for me that the autoimmune disorders, like arthritis, like many things, can be the self not recognizing the self. This takes us into soul's journey. We have our earth mission. What are we doing here? We're being nice to each other. We're feeding ourselves, we're helping the planet. But the soul mission transcends that, I think. So as we go through these journeys of these bodies, and we fulfill our earth missions, hopefully, we're also working on soul mission. So that's a really important distinction. Through all this, my journey has been to write books as well. So, and of course I'm trying to sell you books, but I've tried, as soon as I learn something, I try to put it in a book. As soon as I hit publish, I learn more things. So that's been part of my journey. So all the print books for me in May are 25% off. And what I'm doing now is putting all my books up on Kindle and Amazon, because I have folks in the UK, for example, in different places around the world who want my books, but it's so expensive to mail. So for example, the Get Healthy book, because I know I've got English people listening, if you're on Amazon, they will deliver it for free on Prime in the UK or in all their markets. So that's where I'm going with all of that. The other thing I've done during COVID, I taught 40 online Zoom workshops, and I've stuck all those up on Vimeo for rent, very inexpensive, $11.99 US. And for this month, the month of May, the boot camp is 25% off. And for Tucson Dowsers, Dowse the Future, that is a 3-hour workshop, and it's 25% off, $11.99. So it's extremely inexpensive. It's 3 hours, all the worksheets, all the handouts, all the nitty gritty, everything you could want. The discount code on that is Tucson, and just how to spell Tucson. So that's what I'm doing. So what is dosing? So that's been my journey, the metaphysics, the study of consciousness. So for me, dosing is not just waving a pendulum around or an L rod or my hands. Dosing is applied consciousness. So we have science and we have applied science. Applied science is engineering. So for me, dosing takes what we know about metaphysics and about our own gut feelings and our intuitions and our natural ability, our birthright ability. It's not been codified really, except in the old mystery schools back in the day where, it was kept under wraps. The beauty and wonderful time of today is we have the internet, we have Zoom, and everybody is sharing what they know. So I think, if I could say, we have an opportunity to grow faster and learn from each other and create that global community. So for me, dosing is applied consciousness. And we love science. Let's think about the quantum wave. So, I because I teach in different cultures and different religions, I've been forced to move into a more scientific explanation of how does dosing work. So if we go to quantum physics, which is the primarily accepted mode of science or theory of science at this point. There's they call it quantum physics, and the quantum wave. So what is the quantum wave? So the quantum wave, what they say is there's only one wave function in the universe. So it's like a big bowl of jelly or something. And if you poke the jelly at one end, it wiggles on the other end. And so call that the quantum wave of jelly, something like that. But the quantum wave is the realm of possibilities, like anything can happen in there. And what's interesting is that wave function collapse creates physical reality. So we've got the infinite possibility, and then suddenly, whoomp, it comes down into physical reality. This is what we call manifesting. We can manifest if we can see the future, focus on it, and put energy into it, either with dowsing or whatever modality, then we can bring that towards us. It doesn't always work, but we have a much better chance of it working. So wave function, let's use the Jell-O analogy again. We've got the quivering thing of Jell-O, then you put the spoon in, and now you've got the thing that you're going to work with. Funny analogy. So what is dowsing? Dowsing collapses the quantum wave through our focused intention. So that's a really nice science-based way to explain what's going on. And also quantum entanglement. Everything was together at the beginning of the universe, and as we fall apart and go further and further away, we know that we are still connected faster than the speed of light. So when we use a witness, for example, in an energy broadcast, that thing, that intention, or that object, we talk about using a bit of hair or something, that's actually connecting in to what we're seeking. And there's all kinds of movies out right now. The multiverse is very popular in cinema at the moment, if you've seen any of those movies. So I imagine most of you are dowsing. I use a bobber an awful lot, mostly because in the old days, it didn't stress my wrist. So I was quite physically compromised, and my hand hurt with a pendulum. But we use L-rods or the body, or I like to use objects, though. Some people don't use objects, and it is true that the more you dowse, the more you already know the answer. You know the answer before the tool moves, and we call that deviceless dowsing. I prefer to use the tool because it slows down the information flow from the universe. So in a crisis, and many of us are, not just me, we are given the flow. Here's what you need to do, and now, in a crisis situation. But for day-to-day dowsing, I find it really helps to use the tool, to take the time. I use a protocol, and I make notes at the same time. So it's like a step-down transformer, because the ocean of information that flows into us, for me, is beyond my human comprehension. So I like to take it piece by piece. So if you've worked with me, my charts and my little things that we do in order to stay out of emotion. Because I do find that if we're emotionally involved with the subject, it's very hard to get those accurate results. So part of my whole practice of protocol and charts and left brain, our right brains are flying, and the left brain looks like riding a horse. We can use that analogy too. So the plus minus chart is something I use all the time, and I don't know if you can see my cursor, but 0, the up and down in the center, it's like you're neutral, and numbers on the right are positive, 1 to 10 or up to 100%, and numbers on the left are negative or minus. For me, when I was trained originally with a ray chart, which just went 1 to 10, the problem with just using a ray chart is that if something is non-beneficial for you, and we're talking about the future, so, where am I going to go on my trip, or, what should I do? If you don't have the left-hand side with the minus numbers, you never know the bad side. As one of my teachers, Many Horses, once said to me, when you're going to cross the street, don't you want to look both ways? So we want to see, oh, there's the good stuff, but we also want to see, oh, there's the bus coming. So for me, what I've always wanted to do is what is out there, what's coming in, and what physical actions can I take to start creating successful ongoing outcomes. So I do the dowsing protocol, and if you've heard me do it, it's extremely precise. This is just the steps. If you send me a and email susan@dowser.ca. I'll send you a free 2-page PDF of it, which gives you all the language of it. But it's like we need to open. Many of my clients, they're working in the energy realms and they forget to close the door at the end, and stuff still keeps filtering in. And I would find that in my early practice, that if I was doing a house clearing and I didn't finish, if I didn't shut it down, I'd be exhausted at the end. So for me, we open, we balance our physical body by drinking water, something like that, and go through various steps to prepare ourselves to dose, and then to close the door at the end. So even after a meeting like this, we have a formal closure, and there's a reason we open and we close, and the same with the dosing. So if you've already worked with me in the past, you have the protocol, but I've strengthened step 4. So when we disconnect non-beneficial energies from us, in the olden days, I would say, let's disconnect non-beneficial energies. Now I say, disconnect non-beneficial energies and processes. By processes, I'm thinking more about the physical body, and I developed this little bit after when I got my vaccine, and I could feel this thing coming in. It's like, whoa, I got to do something with the protocol that works inside the body too. So when we disconnect non-beneficial human processes, we're talking about biochemical, biomechanical, and bioelectric. So that's in the new. If you've worked with me recently, you already have that in there. But I'll send you another one if you want to do that. So that's how we stay safe. I've already done the protocol, so you guys can dose. I invite you to pick up your pendulums. Hopefully you've got it handy, and do show me yes, show me no, and then ask, am I safe? Am I safe dosing in the presentation? Because I want to give you things to work on, actually. If you're not safe, then just put your pendulum down and take it as information. If you are safe, I invite you to dose along with us. So, because I teach in different cultures and languages, we know, in our North American community, we have all kinds of words like curry and Hartman and all sorts of things. But I generally, because it can be confusing for people who aren't familiar with dosing, I generally just say, are the energies beneficial, non-beneficial, or neutral? And I'm not going to teach you to dose here, but you could say, generally speaking, on average, are the energies around me beneficial? Then give it a little tap. Generally speaking, on average, are the energies around me non-beneficial? Give it a little tap. I always do that between. And then you could ask, generally speaking, are the energies around me on average neutral? I never used to worry about the neutral, but now I kind of do, because I started to think, well, who or what are these neutral energies and why are they there? And I began to feel that there was potential to be watched in this. Watched by what? There's the question, right? Watched by future selves, watched by multidimensional beings, but watched. So these are important questions to ask, especially when you think about your goal, because if you're looking into the future, presumably you have some outcome that you're looking towards. So you can add this. Think of you, and we're going to do talk about goals, but you can ask, generally speaking, are the energies around me accomplishing my goal beneficial or supportive or non-beneficial, and so on. So I don't worry about the fancy words. Because people are always coming up with fancy words, but it's beneficial to you, or if you've got a client, to your client, or if it's your pet, or whatever, your garden, whatever it is, because the energies that are beneficial to us as humans may or may not be beneficial to your cat or your dog or various other critters that you're working with. So be very specific. What is the goal and who are you dosing for? And that's why I write it down, because I find my brain, as a human brain, like it's all the monkey mind, right? We're everywhere. But if you have a list of questions and you know what you're dosing and then write down your answer, then you get much more clarity, I find. So there we are out in the multiverse, and if there's all these movies out, and we know that these strange things potentially can come in, and I've experienced this, right? Before I did any of the dosing work, I say we are juicy morsels. Unless we protect ourselves from stray energy, we are juicy morsels. So, and why are the movies so popular? Lord of the Rings, there's Gandalf with his magic staff, there's Luke Skywalker and his lightsaber, and even Neo there. He doesn't even use a tool, it's just his hand. But it's like, oh, we recognize this. We recognize magic is real, and I use that word. Magic and miracles are real, and we need some protection out there. So for us as dosers, our protection is our tool. Whether it's an L-rod or bobber or your pendulum, it's a tool that the energies go into the tool and not into your body. So I'm a big proponent of using tools. And so for me, because I was so, crippled, my hands were claws for 23 years. It was a nightmare. And what got me out of it was the dowsing protocol. And for me, it has worked. It has helped. I appreciate the teachers, and I didn't come up with this all myself, obviously. So I've been studying this with all the teachers that you can name. I've studied at least their work as much as I can. And it's a synthesis. It's a synthesis. And I think that's something we each have to do. Yet listen to the teachers and then make it your own. Because nobody can tell you what is right for you. But for me, the framework of doing a protocol has been extremely important. So whatever your protocol is, and that's what I'm going to send you a PDF if you want it, do the dowsing protocol. And I say maintain your sovereign being, because once you open yourselves to the realms, the other dimensions, the higher octaves, whatever you want to call it, once you open yourself to that place, you better be protected beforehand. And so when I say maintain your sovereign being, it's like it's my body. Defend your body, your planet, because that's where the power comes from. The power of the energy work comes from a strong physical body. So very important. Even if you're not strong, even if your body is not strong, do things that help it be strong. Drink water and get enough sleep and, exercise, do what you can. And then when you breathe in, when you inspire, this is your body. My body, my planet. So when you go out there in the energy realms, you go out there as a spiritual warrior, a peaceful warrior, if you want to say that. But know who you are and what you're doing. And I always say stay conscious. So for me, the brainwave, and there's some studies on this, our brainwave frequencies can stay active all the way through. So we're, in our conscious mind, we can access the subconscious and the superconscious. And for me, it's not the, self-hypnosis or the shamanic journey where I don't know where I am. I am aware of where I am and what's going on, and I can come back all the time. So, and creating triggers helps. So for me, I will dig the point of my pendulum, I'll dig my fingernails or the point of my pendulum into my fingers, create a little physical stimulation to, my body, get back in your body, and that's where your safety is. So physical objects, whatever that is for you, and then protection while you sleep. So I do the dowsing protocol in the morning between clients and at night. And in the meantime, I can trigger it pretty easily. Okay, so the future, you tuned in to hear about the future. The truth is there are many possible futures depending on the choices that you make today. Obviously, that it's like, what do you want the most? And we say that the strongest intention wins. And perhaps some of you are in relationships where, and it could be a child, it could be a partner, it could be a boss, where their intention is to keep you in the same place because that's where they feel safe. They feel safe when you're there in that same place that they see you and want you in. But if you go into your heart, your sovereign being, and have your own vision of what can I see myself doing, and then take actions toward that. And there's so many things that, so many choices, even at a later stage in life, we get to choose between things. And I do say this is a planet, I say two things about this planet. One, it's the planet of pain. So we get in here and we realize, oh, this is quite painful, actually. And we learn how to deal with pain. We learn how to recover. We learn how to maintain our sovereign being in the face of pain, in the face of humanity. And then the other thing that is given to us is the opportunity to choose. So we choose our lives, and we make choices in every second. The absence of choice is a choice. So in every moment, make sure you are making a choice that moves you towards your goal or the future that you want for yourself. And we get what we think about. So if we're always worried about, oh, what if this horrible thing happens, then our neural pathways, they have trouble, old brain there has trouble distinguishing between what you want and what you don't want. And if you always think about the horrible thing, then that is sort of what comes. Dogs, for example, if you're walking in a wooded path and you see a dog and you're afraid it will jump up on you, what does the dog see? It sees you with a picture of the dog jumping up. So it jumps up. If you hold the picture of the dog being respectful, the dog is more likely to be respectful. So the energy we put out has a lot to do with what we get back. Anyway, many possible futures, but be careful what you wish for. So here's the guy who rubs the genie's lamp and he says, I want to have enough money to last the rest of my life. And the genie says, granted, you have 1 week to live. So the wish is coming true. We want everything to occur as appropriate for ourselves. So how do we manifest that future? First thing, be in the present. Be in your body. Be in this moment. This is the only moment we have. There's, the past, the future, but be in this moment. Resolve past issues, because a lot of us, the planet of pain, I hate to say it, but we have our trauma, we have our memories, we have our hurts and harms. And if our heart is so heavy with those things, it's very hard to create a future. So it's almost like looking back and say, well, what are the things inside me that prevent me from being who I really want to be? So it's a hard conversation to have with oneself. And even if those folks who hurt you are dead, you can still go through a process of who, I'm going to say, who cares about them? But, we heal them if they are ready, but we heal our relationship. We heal the trauma so we can acknowledge, man, that was a painful part of my life. I am not in pain now. I have survived. I am not a victim. I am a survivor. Those were life experiences. So, look at those painful places. Have a friend and, talk it out. That's how you create the future. Be right now, resolve the past, and then you choose. What is it? What fabulous future do I want to have? It sounds simplistic, but we can't wallow. We often wallow. So I invite you, if you want, think of a goal, and maybe you've got one, but just make it anything, lose 10 pounds. We all have that one. Lose 20 pounds. and then whatever that little goal is, pick up your pendulum and ask, Dowse, yes or no, am I willing to achieve this goal? So in the case of losing the 20 pounds, maybe it means we have to stop eating ice cream at night, every night, watching TV, which I have done. Am I willing to achieve the goal? Then ask, do I want to achieve the goal? And am I able to achieve the goal? If you get a no on any of those things, then you've got some work to do. Because what's the payoff? You lose 20 pounds, you're going to look great, but then you have to stop the behavior or whatever it is. I want to get promoted and get that great job, but then I'd have to move out of, my place. Various things. Anyway, I'm going to go fast on this because we don't have much time. But there's a 3-hour workshop if you want to play around with that. So there's a goal setting exercise. And then this is like the past. This is a bit like Ho'oponopono, the Hawaiian philosophical tradition. But to achieve your goal, and this may be resolving past issues, but I invite you to dose. To achieve your goal, do you need to be forgiven? Do you need to forgive? Do you need to thank? Do you need to be thanked? And then other things you can dose. This is the speed dosing. To achieve your goal, do you need to communicate? Maybe you just need to tell somebody. Maybe you need to tell your boss you want a raise. To locate, what does that mean? Do you need to find something? Anyway, it's an individual process for everybody. Do you need to warn? Like, are you holding a secret that has to be told, kind of thing? Do you need to join something, or do you need to separate? So these are very odd questions, but it's how do we set up a dialogue with ourselves? Because we have, I have the monkey brain, most of us do. It goes into this little loop. Oh, what can I do? I can't do. What can I do? I can't do it. And instead of just, break it down into discrete pieces, I find that the most useful. Another thing to dose here, is your past life energy active in your field? So if you get a yes on that, it could be that, you're living in the past, that old harm, that old trauma, that old lost whatever is still in your energy field. But then you would ask, and I don't know if you can see this on the screen, if you're on a small little thing, maybe not, but ask, if your past life energy is active in your field, is it beneficial to you or not beneficial? Sometimes it's beneficial, so you don't get rid of it. And I always like to ask, is that past from this lifetime? Is the past energy active in your field from this lifetime, this time stream, this body, or from another time stream? And then if you want to go out, how many lifetimes? So a lot of us have patterns of behavior. I tell a short story. I know I can't tell too many, but I had a colleague, and she told me something about her relationship, and that was that in the past 12 incarnations, the same being had done the same thing to her. 12 incarnations. And I said, what about that don't you get? And it was like she realized she needed to break the pattern, that she wasn't living something that she chose. She was in a pattern, trapped in a pattern. Anyway, so she broke the pattern, and then the relationship changed. But it was her choice. So examine the energies around you. So that's looking at your past, but you can also ask the same questions about your future life. Is your future life, and I invite you to dose if you choose, is your future life energy active in your field on average, or sometimes, or once in a while? And again, you would ask those questions. Is it beneficial for your future life to be active in your field? How many lifetimes forward? Or maybe it's this life, is it you, at the end of days, trying to get your attention now, saying, yes, stop eating the ice cream, lose the 20 pounds, you'll be so much happier. Who knows, right? So we can go into the realm of the quantum universe, or we can just go, this lifetime, let's be healthy, whatever that is, whatever that means to you. Then, okay, so, and I'm roaring through this really quickly, but this is like, oh yeah, I could ask that, and this will be on a recording, I think, so you can go back and look at it. But now, thinking about your goal again, you could ask, are there vows that are preventing me from achieving my goal? And I'm gonna throw this up on the screen just for the sake of doing it. There's a ton of vows out there, of poverty, of celibacy, of silence, obedience, all kinds of things. And let's say, hypothetically, if in another lifetime you were in a religious order, or a soldier, or committed to something, you'd sworn allegiance to a king or queen or something, that can carry over lifetime to lifetime. Also, in marriage ceremonies, or when you're expressing love to someone, it might be preferable, rather than saying, I will love you forever, I will love you till death do us part, right? Because I've often encountered beings who have left their body, who are waiting around in the in-between place for their spouse. And when I go in and check, I say, sir, your spouse died 25 years ago. And it's like, oh, really? And then you help them go on. So these, just check to see if there's any vows that are from the past or from the future that are preventing you from achieving your goal. In addition, non-beneficial psychic cords. And what are those things, right? It's like attachments that often go between people, although it can go between objects or animals or all kinds of things. So that if when sometimes you meet a person or you're in their presence and suddenly you feel your energy drain, there may be some sort of psychic cord on that. And there's that little picture. It kind of shows the cords go into different parts of the body, and you can check, do I have non-beneficial psychic cords? Are they going into certain parts of my body? Is it weakening me? Are these psychic cords preventing me from achieving my goal, the goal of the future that we're talking about? So if you do find, oh yes, I have some of these things, and generally we all do. They come and go, but we do. Then you would dowse. Okay, are these non-beneficial psychic cords attached to a human, living or dead, to some kind of spirit form, some kind of animal, some kind of place, an object, or something else? So if where are they coming from? Is it from the multiverse? Is it anyway, from an imaginary character? Honestly, this is what's just coming in. Do you have psychic cords attached to a fictional character, like a movie star or something? We all have these, weird relationships with the folks on movies and TV. So anyway, do you have non-beneficial psychic cords? What are they carried into? And then where are they flowing? Is the energy coming into you, or is the energy going out of you? And then you can look at the quality. Is it beneficial energy coming in? Probably not, because we're looking for non-beneficial psychic cords. Or is the energy going out? If the energy is going out, is somebody sucking out your life force, preventing you from achieving your goal and the future that you're looking for? And then you dowse how many, of course. So this is very quick work. But it's an example of the kinds of things you can look for. And then to what is there a part of the body? Okay, removing curses. You could do a whole workshop on this too. But the same way, learn to dowse accurately. So my boot camp gives you a 3-hour fundamental workshop, how to dowse accurately. And then you need to practice. So some people tell me, oh, I learned to dowse, but I hardly ever do it. So if you just pick up your pendulum randomly and then start dowsing these things, you don't know what your accuracy is. So with that plus minus chart, when we begin to dowse, we want to measure our accuracy as well. And how truthful are the answers? And are the answers coming in related to me personally? Because here we are on a group call. We've got some mass consciousness going on. I invite you to dowse. Is it true that I, say your own name, am picking up the energy fields of other people, maybe on this call, or maybe where you are, family members or whatever? So you want to be sure what the energy is coming into you. Is it for you? I used to, I occasionally I follow day sign, for example, which in the native tradition is, you see birds. So I saw this huge flock of crows, like something out of the Alfred Hitchcock movie. It was on the neighbor's lawn, and I was a little appalled by that. But I said, is that a communication for me? No. Is it a communication for the neighbors? Yes. So you want to be clear. Spirit is always communicating, but it may not be for you all the time. Anyway, curses. Ask if there's curse energy active in your field on average. You'll notice I say on average because things come and go. This is the trickster energy, that when you dowse, the naughty thing leaves. So when you say on average, you're going to catch that. Average of last week, average of last day, whatever time period. And then for curse energy, is the source outside of yourself? Is the source of the curse energy outside of me, or am I the source? And I think a lot of us, we say things like, oh, I'm so stupid, I do that all the time. That's, we're cursing ourselves, and our little poor subconscious remembers that. So if you're dowsing and that's, I am the source of the curse energy, I being, say your own name, then, this neuro-linguistic programming, you start cleaning up the way you use your speech. I had a woman in my, back in my the baby group, and her little baby was born, and she nicknamed it the little brat. So, how's that child going to grow up? So it's going to grow up thinking it's a brat. Anyway. And then, for your environment, because we do dose environmental stuff, geopathic stress, ask if there's something in the environment that amplifies the energy. For example, a gift from someone. If you get antiques or the thrift store or whatever, you bring something into your house that may already have a curse on it. I don't want to be alarmist, but it may be you have to get rid of things. So I invite you to dose, is there something in my house I need to remove or change the energy of in order to achieve my goals for the future? Okay, so what do we do besides dosing? You address the problem. So, we're in this terrible emotional state. We detected, oh, now I see what the problem is. So you got to get out of emotion and detach from that. So, because when we're in emotion, that's how we are manipulated. So we go into a calm state, we detach, and then we deal with it. It's like, okay, you can manage relationships and situations by adjusting the energy and speaking clearly. And I sometimes say perfect love is perfect communication. And I'm not perfect, right? I know in my own relationships, I'm afraid to say things. So that's, as a human, I'm working all the time. Eventually we'll figure it out. So the dosing protocol, that's how, so you've identified all this stuff. You know what, let's just do a disconnect in this moment. So presumably this is my bobber, obviously, and this is the disconnecting motion. And so and that's my neutral, and that's my clockwise, which is like my yes. So this is my neutral, and I'm going to try to keep the motion of the bobber quite small so that you can see it in front of the camera. So this is the disconnecting motion. So if you guys have made a list of these things quickly, because I know we've gone through it really fast, or if you've got things in your mind, you go, oh yeah, oh yeah, oh yeah. So let's now, I'm not doing this to you, but I offer you an energy here to disconnect. So you can see the disconnecting motion. So this is kind of the verbiage of the dosing protocol. I use step 4 of the protocol. So I would say, taking all things into account, known and unknown, acknowledging the people live on the Zoom call, acknowledging the people watching on video in the future, taking all things into account, known and unknown, within the appropriate boundaries of my territory. So I'm not doing it to you, but I offer this as a, jump into the energy field, jump into the stream. The stream will be active as long as it's needed. Alrighty. So bring to your mind the things that you want to remove from your life, from your habits, from your neural pathways, from your body. And my body moves when I do this too. So this is step 4. So, and I will say in the name of God, but we can say for the divine source, or within your highest spiritual principle, within the resonance of your highest spiritual principle, within your jurisdiction and your choice, because only you choose to take part if you want. Okay, the big preamble, right? Lots of words. Those of you who are wondering, I'm a Gemini, I'm a communicator, right? All right. Take a sigh. You can put your hand on your heart, or you can use your pendulum. And as appropriate, taking all things into account, known and unknown. So just going into that quiet place, which is important to move into that. So let's all move into our power centers, into the place that we know we are sovereign beings. We are humans on this planet in this time. We reclaim our birthright, and we ask to disconnect all non-beneficial energies and processes, biomechanical, biochemical, bioelectric. We ask to disconnect all non-beneficial energies and processes from every aspect of our beings, non-beneficial. Disconnect from our beings, physical, mental, spiritual, emotional, energetic. Disconnect all non-beneficial energies and processes in all dimensions, all time frames, all realities, all frequencies that interfere with our goal and our successful future. That is your future that you are choosing and creating. Disconnect all non-beneficial energies and processes, known, unknown, hidden, secret, stealth, disguised, residual, fractal, fluctuating, reversed, ionic. Disconnect all non-beneficial psychic cords and quantum connections, each with our own choosing. Disconnect all non-beneficial energy triggers and cellular memories for each person as they choose. Okay, it's gone into clockwise already, which is step 5 of the protocol. So bringing to mind your goals, your future, the future you want, we ask to create the most appropriate energies and processes that facilitate and maintain the circumstances so that you, say your own name, can create the future and integrate it and experience it into my life in this timeline, so that I experience those things that I choose. And you could add that are beneficial and appropriate if you want. And then step 8 is the ongoing system. So we ask for the perfect energy patterns around each of us as we choose that create ongoing successful outcomes that we as sovereign beings may maintain and control, influence. And so that we may be in service, because we get the most successful outcomes through being in service. And we ask for that on an ongoing basis. And we ask that each person receive and integrate whatever information is most appropriate for them. That comes to a stop on that. I don't know if you can see that very well, but the dowsing protocol is there. You heard the words. Receive and integrate. So we have this massive energy that we are pulling in. And, it's just like, well, what is most relevant? What is most useful to me? And grab that at the most appropriate rate, because it often comes in pretty quick. I know I have to finish here in a couple of secs, but energy broadcasting, that's the other thing, because we can't sit here all day and twiddle our bobbers and pendulums. So how do we create a physical system that continues to manifest what we're looking at? So this is, and if you can see this, this is a copper circle. So it's based on sacred geometry and the flower of life, and it's twisted. Various people have made these sorts of rings in the past, and they're kind of hard to find. I think Raymond Grace may still have some, I don't know, or Brian Bosco, I'm not sure. Somebody can put that on the chat whether that's true or not. But in any case, I have this one made by a colleague, and you can't see the flower of life, but it's in there. And so I have an intention to create a future. So I have affirmations on this piece of paper. I have a witness for the person and the name. I've got bar magnets. So when we bring magnets together, that's an energy. An energy is created. In addition to that, I have a feather. And over here, I have sage that I'm burning. Over here, this was at a library where I sometimes teach, and I didn't have all the stuff. So I grabbed a styrofoam cup, put water in it. We've got water, we've got fire, we have air. And over here, this is all doused, right? Like, there is no formula. Oh, what do I need to put in it? It's, you have a whole bunch of things and you put them in places. These are colors that were doused to place. Color has frequency. And so for the specific intentions that were in this energy broadcast, these colors were important. I don't think you can see in the picture, but I had a compass here. So you would also, because we know there are energy lines all over the planet, you can either use your L rod, what direction should my broadcast face, or I often use a compass. I was doing this once at the American Society of Dowsers, putting a broadcast together like that for a specific individual, and I had the compass out, and the compass itself, the needle started to fluctuate by maybe 15 degrees, and it was not the magnet doing it. It was far enough away, but it was actually it was going from north and then pointing to the location of the client to whom the energy was directed. So it would go back and forth, which is quite interesting. I've seen these broadcasts to actually physically move. So if the energy is strong, and you get a lot of people in there as well, with really focused intent, you can create, people call it poltergeist activity, poltergeist being a ghost that moves things. But, you hear stories about people levitating or objects floating around. And I've seen that happen with an energy broadcast. So in order to create one of those things, you want to determine the issue. Like if this is a future goal, okay, my goal is to create this future by resolving the past. So what's the issue that you're working on? And then you identify the components. So for me, I just go to the hardware store. I get all the stuff. I have boxes of things, and I'm dowsing. Okay, is there anything in this box that would be useful to put into a broadcast? And then I douse through it. It's, oh yeah, this here, douse where. So you identify the components. You put it all together and ask, is the broadcast working? Is it functioning? Activate it, because there's a lot of setup. Again, this goes back to open and close. And this reminds me also that a lot of people have altars, and in some religions the altar has a door that you open and then a door that you close, or they parade a figure, an icon, through the streets where the icon is open and then it's closed. So there is some point to closing the icon, or to putting, if you've got an altar that you're working with, put a scarf over it, cover it when not in use, because when you leave the energies, you want to, maybe it's a good thing, it depends, like dowse for this, it could be beneficial energy coming out, or it just could be, it's like the sorcerer's apprentice, that the energy starts to spin out of control if you're not on top of it all the time. So you activate it, and you usually time it. How long should this go for? 5 minutes, 2 days, and then turn it off at the end. So when you dowse that the broadcast is complete so that I can achieve my future goal, or this particular broadcast, because sometimes we go in quantum steps, right? You do this, and then you do this, and then you do this. It's rarely, oh, I'm going to do one thing and then I'm done. It's a process. Life is a process that we evolve through. So when the time is right, turn that guy off. So I'm roaring through this. We're going to have questions at the end. You know how to get in touch with me. And I mentioned 25% off all my books, print books ordered from my website in May. And then I'm putting stuff up on Kindle and Amazon. And it probably is obvious that I'm in legacy mode. I'm not going to do any more print books. I'm going to stick them all up on Amazon and Kindle. And I've got boxes of these books in the basement, and they're leaving. Thank you very much. All those workshops, and they're pretty good, I must say. So boot camp, if you're a new dowser or you're not sure of your techniques, that's 25% off in May. You don't need any coupon. And until May 14th, next Saturday or Sunday, 25% off Dowse the Future. It's 3 hours. You can stop the thing, all the worksheets, all the this and that you would ever need. And the discount code is Tucson. So that is my presentation.